So we're going to look at an NBA draft prospect. This prospect is a wing guard from Kansas. And really what I notice about him is that he really reminds me a lot of Danny Green in terms of his ability to catch and shoot the basketball. He has this ability to really relocate himself, as you can see with that cut. But really, I say Danny Green, but that's more of a floor, to be honest with you. Just that catch and shoot ability is what I was referring to when it comes to the floor. The ceiling, on the other hand, is definitely a lot more than Danny Green. The one thing you notice about this kid is his athleticism. He really just has a nice little hang time if he's able to go for the bucket there. And he's also a really smart player. See how he relocates again for free. We saw Maxey do that a couple of games ago. And it's just an underrated skill where if you're cutting off the ball and relocating for the open shot, that's going to help you play in the NBA for a real long time. And he's already doing this. He's a junior out of Kansas. He's testing the waters right now. It's not officially determined if this kid is going to declare, but I like his toughness. He doesn't actually rebound a lot. I think he only averaged maybe under, slightly over 4 rebounds a game. Again, not an overly big wingman. He's going to more guard twos at the next level. I think when we looked at Desmond Bane last year, and it's a almost similar prospect, except I think he's more athletic than Desmond Bane. He's a pretty low turnover player, but part of that, in my view, is because he doesn't have a lot of ball handling responsibilities, but he flashes it. You can see in this tape that he flashes that ability to handle the basketball, and then his shooting, his form is just beautiful, straight up and down, torso squared. Everything about his release form is picture perfect. You couldn't ask for a better form, although he only really shot at an elite level, 37% this year. So you wonder, is it a one-year thing, or is it going to continue? And the reason why this is a bit of a question mark is that he is a career 65% free throw shooter. So this isn't a guy, he doesn't get there a lot either. So you can tell he's not really a slashing wingman. Again, his numbers comparably are Danny Green. His floor is Danny Green. But we're picking 28th, so put that in context. For where we're picking, that's not a bad thing to say, that he is a Danny Green clone. But I am intrigued by his upside athletically. Because if he can, like you see there, just him cutting off to the rim and getting a dunk like that. If he can harness the handles that he sometimes teases a little bit, if he can get that into his game, then just look out, because he's a quick twitch type of athlete. And he does show somewhat of a scoring knack. This last year was a career high, 14 points a game. And you can just see that he's growing and developing as a driver to the rim. And I feel like adding that to his game more consistently is going to be the challenge. Now, I will give this a caveat early on. I did not watch any defensive clips yet, any full game, so I can't say whether he'll be a good or a bad defender, but I looked at his college numbers. His block per game for a wingman is nothing spectacular. His steals per game are what you would expect for a wingman, 1.2 to 1.1, so he's at least active defensively. At least active enough to rate average in terms of what you're looking for in steals from a college wing prospect. He's active, so he's no slouch. But I can't grade that area of his game until I look at it. But that being said, offensively, he intrigued me. He intrigued me obviously because of his shot. Like, I know that it was just this 1 year, and that's the concerning part. The two things that are concerning: this was only your 1 year doing it at an elite level, and then you're 62% from the free throw line. Two big negatives to your shot. But then you have to consider again where we're drafting him. We're not a team that, oh my God, we need this 10 pick or this 15 pick. We're drafting this kid 28th overall if we draft him. And from that vantage point, I would not be mad at all. This is a project, really, that's worth picking. I like him as a project. When you're drafting projects, you can somewhat, I wouldn't say ignore the flaws, but you can kind of, you're okay with them because you're not expecting this kid. This is a Tyreek Maxey situation, although it could be. Again, his upside intrigues me the most, to quote it under somebody, because he's athletic and he can get to the rim. His upside is there. But what makes this a good pick is that, in all likelihood, he might not reach it, right? So what's his floor? Danny Green with athleticism, I will take that. Because that will allow us to just let Danny Green walk next year. Literally. I think that if he's there at 28 and the Sixers pull the trigger, I like this kid. I like what he brings offensively. Now, would he get time if we kept everybody? See, we also have Isaiah Joe under contract. And, if you're the Sixer brass, would you like to see more from Isaiah Joe? Because he had a nice game, in the fourth quarter today, or yesterday, I should say. Isaiah Joe's 3-point shot is beautiful to look at when he goes in. And so I feel like the backup wing, the super backup wing, sorry, couldn't control that part. I just, ripped this from somewhere else, so not my video with that little light thing there. But because we have Furkan Korkmaz, because we have Isaiah Joe, it becomes something to where if we add this kid, it will kind of be the third wingman. And I think that this kid will probably have the highest upside. Because again, I said his floor is Danny Green. And last year, if you remember, I said that Isaiah Joe was an undrafted grade for me. Where we picked Isaiah Joe at 49. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't care. It's real late in the second round. And I held him undraftable. So if you thought that Isaiah Joe deserved a late second round grade, I wasn't, upset with that. It's like, okay, whatever. This is a little bit different. With Agbaji, I see him as having a much higher upside than Isaiah Joe, and probably a higher upside than Furkan Korkmaz. It's not quite the same thing as a Maxey, but it's pretty good for where you are at 28. If this kid's there at 28, it's probably one of my top picks. Again, I had to look at his defensive tape, and I will do that. And I will upload a defensive breakdown to see where this kid is defensively and where he has to improve defensively. But to be honest, just look at the hang time, the long arms. I can't see him being, at the very least, he should be average. My expectation going into watching some Kansas games later on today, my expectation is that Agbaji checks out defensively. Where it's like, I'll end up giving him a C+ grade. That's my anticipation. My anticipation is giving him a C+ grade. And at the 28th overall pick, I would not mind that at all. That would actually be a very, very good selection. If this kid's there at 28, I'm just telling you, I have no problem with it. Because I think he can develop into more than the Danny Green role that he's showing on these clips. I think that his catch and shoot is great. But I also think that because he flashes handles, if he ever gets to a 40% shooting clip, what's going to end up happening is this kid is going to be able to pump fake a free, get in the lane, dunk it, lay it up. Oh, can you imagine? He's shown some passing flashes, but not a whole lot. His assists per game isn't really up there. His turnovers are really low, too. So it's more a matter of, can he add the passing game while keeping his turnovers down? I just mean he's a beautifully raw prospect. Again, really competitive. See him cutting there for the rebound, cutting there for loose ball. He does that on occasion. Averages about 4 rebounds a game. So, just a really competitive, feisty kid that I just see having a long upside, a long career in the NBA because of his shot-making ability and his athleticism and his handling. which, he's more of a straight line handler. If he makes any complex moves, that's where his handle is going to get issue, and he's going to end up, fumbling that a little bit. But for basic rudimentary handles, I think that he has a nice sound base to round what could be an offensive game. This is the kind of prospect where you really say, again, not making any promises, but Kawhi Leonard was the 15th pick in the draft, right? Jimmy Butler was the 30th pick in the draft. With these type of prospects, I'm telling you, these are the raw, 6'8", long arms. These are the kids that if they have hours in the gym, if they work hard at it, if they have a passion for the game of basketball, then like a Jimmy and like a Kawhi, I can see this kid ending up looking like one of the top steals in the draft because he has all the athleticism and all the tools from an athletic, rangy standpoint, especially with the shot. That's the one thing that makes this prospect special to me at 28. Normally when you talk about these 6'8", raw dudes who just are athletic freaks, normally the shot's not there. But for him, the shot is there. Even when he only shot 33% his sophomore year, just look at the mechanics. The mechanics are solid. He's straight up and down, fluid motion, 1-2 hop, really consistent with it. So the mechanics of the shooter are pretty damn good. The results you can't control. What you control was your shooting motion, your consistency, your reps. And in all those areas, he marks out really high to me offensively. So if this is the offensive scouting report for the 28th pick, I would love it. Now, we need a backup big man more than we do a backup wing. And there's a certain guard that I really think is going to be a major steal if he's there at 28. But generally speaking, and I'm going to get to all these prospects, because we have a week before the playoffs, right? So I'm going to use this as draft week. I'm going to use this as a week to just go into prospects, go into what I'm looking for. And, I'll find prospects, other people will find prospects. This actually came, well, not this video, but this name came from the Painted Lines. So I look up his name and I'm like, well, damn, he's a long wingman with all the attributes that we like for the wing position. So, okay here, from an offensive standpoint, this is the prospect that if he's there at 28, I co-sign with the Painted Lines. Draft this kid. We could use more length and more depth at the wing spot. But that is going to kind of do it for this video because essentially you're seeing all the same things, right? We all know. Catch and shoot, long arms, athleticism, some handling potential, some flashes of passing every now and then, but generally a free and probably D wingman. But I'm going to hold off on definitively calling him a free and D wingman until I look at the defensive tape, and then I will upload the defensive assessment to give you guys the full 100% accuracy on whether this kid is a free or D. But I do know this. If he grades out average, I think there's a chance that he could slide up the draft boards. And if he's there 28 and he grades out average, I want to draft this kid. 6 of the universe. This is going to be the first of quite a few draft breakdowns early on, and then later as it goes on, as we get closer to the draft, there will be more draft coverage. I'm just a nerd who loves basketball at any and every opportunity, and this is the opportunity. So 6 of the universe, keep on the lookout, and let's get this NBA championship. Let's go. Ooh, nice. Finishing through contact. Ooh, pump fake. And then the up and under reverse. Whoop. And one finish. Just a tough kid who could shoot. Great prospect. More shots, more drops. Steal theirs. So yeah, long arms and can finish. But I just need to see more tape of that. Woo! alley-oop dunk. Nice. This kid's got it. He's got it.